Thank God we're not in Kansas right now.
Let's hear it for Sky. Sky Spectrum, that is. Keep it going. Are y'all excited for the next performer? I also am, because
Please rise and body your spirit. Turn to number 298 in the gray hymnal. Join me in singing Wake Now My Senses.
Good morning. My name is Joe Libben, and I serve this congregation as part of the lay worship leaders team. I'm glad to see so many people here joining us in the sanctuary. And hello to those of you joining us online. It's good to be together. The First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor has been meeting continuously since 1865. Through all the changes the world has seen unfolding in that time, we have risen to meet the challenges of the day, providing a hub of connection, of community, of care. If this is your first time joining us, thank you. We're so glad you're here, and we hope you'll join us for a newcomer meeting after the service. A member of our congregation will be there to answer your questions and to greet you warmly. And this will happen in the Red Room, which is just out these double doors on your left as you move back towards the main entrance. Additionally, if you're joining us online for the first time, it would be wonderful if you could fill out the newcomer survey at UUAA.org/newcomer survey. This will be a great way for you to share your interests and affiliations, and for us to find ways to connect you to the vital work we're undertaking here at UUAA. We're delighted you've joined us this morning, and we welcome your contributions to our vibrant community. One final piece of technical, nay, practical business. It's time to spring forward. Oh, groans. So next weekend on the 8th, daylight savings time does go into effect. So if you have a plug-in clock or an analog clock, it's time to change the time, or you might be late for service next week, and you don't want to miss this. I'd now like to invite you to take a few centering breaths as we prepare to enter into our time of worship and contemplation. Our opening hymn, Wake Now My Senses, touches on a lot of what makes our UU faith approachable to those who would rely on reason, those who are moved by compassion, those who trust their senses, and those who are guided by their conscience. I love the line, "Honor the beauty and wisdom of time," which speaks to me of the interconnectedness of all things, past, present, and future. I wonder then what it means to suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. I will leave you with that question to ponder. We are now gathered in community. We are gathered for worship.
Thank you, Joe, for so warmly extending our community's welcome. Yes, as we gather this Sunday, that question that Joe posed is a good one. It's an important one. What does it mean to suffer thy limit? And certainly on this specific weekend, it can feel like, as a people of conscience, as a people of faith and heart committed to the human spirit, that the limits of what we understand compassion invites for us, how we're called to live out a sense of shared and common humanity, that the limits of that have been crossed yet again by our nation, conducting yet another foreign conflict, war overseas. Our second in less than 3 months, with no seeming other purpose than regime change, and with very little international support. We know that in these types of circumstances, those who are innocent will suffer and die, and already that is happening. So we hold in our hearts, my heart, some of the grief and the sadness of knowing that, some of the grief and the sadness of knowing that this is the latest in a long chain of imperialistic-style actions that our government has undertaken, not just years, decades, if not even centuries. There's a sadness in knowing that and recognizing that, knowing that there's a human cost for that on the other side. And so as we gather this morning, know that I hold your heart and tenderness alongside my own, and that we hold that collective compassion together. Whenever we gather on a Sunday morning, there are Unitarian Universalist, tens of thousands of us across North America and across even the world, that join together in building community by lighting a chalice. And this chalice, when we light it, it can mean very different things for each of us individually. And it does. Among the things it can mean for me, and does mean at times, is a reminder that the love and hope, compassion that we hold in our hearts individually, that it's kindled and brought alive when we're together in community. On this particular Sunday, I want to also invite us to hold that the flame can also represent and hold our collective hope, our collective prayer, our collective longing for peace and a greater sense of humanity than our own nation at times embodies. It's in that spirit of our UU commitment to love, to peace, and a larger sense of humanity, I invite Margot and Abraham Legowski into our pulpit this morning. Thank you for joining us. They're going to help light our chalice this morning. And if you take a moment to ground ourselves in our heart spaces, I invite you to join together in these familiar words, our words of chalice lighting. Would you join me in saying, "We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace." Thank you, Margot and Abraham. And as a people of conscience, we know there's so much that is beyond our individual control, so much that's unfolding at the level of nation and certainly globally, that it can feel like we are unable to directly impact. Yet there is a lot that we can directly impact. And that starts with each of us here, who we are, how we show up together in community, the intention we bring, the longing we bring, what we aspire to live into jointly and together in community. Showing here, through here, how we show up here, that it's possible to be together across difference and divergence in better and different ways. It starts with local community, living into that longing for a deeper sense of humanity. We help bring it alive through the commitments that we make to one another every single Sunday. And it's in that spirit of knowing who we are, who we're striving to be, and why that matters, that I invite you to join together in offering these words of promise, these words of covenant to one another. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another. May it be so.
We want to raise good people, people that care for others, that know right from wrong. My parenting mantra that I saw somewhere on social media is that I want to raise my kids to love your kids, to love all kids. But what if my definition of good and right is wildly different from someone else's? For me, good means compassionate, empathetic, service-oriented, inclusive, and loving. Who could argue with that? Well, some people, apparently. We who embody progressive values find ourselves locked in this constant debate about how we define words and phrases that seem on their face to be good. We've seen the Christian right transform empathy into an insidious tool of the left. Social emotional learning is just code for woke indoctrination. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are racist, sexist, and classist, enemies of the market economy, of meritocracy, of American identity itself. Multiculturalism is a front for the Great Replacement theory. If we don't agree on what words mean, how can we hope to find common ground? It can make you feel lost. But we're not lost. When we quiet our minds and ignore those angry voices that tell us there's no such thing as morality or that truth is relative, we might just hear another voice, the one that can show us the way. The voice that guides us to care for others, the voice that connects us to one another, the voice that knows what is true and right and good. When our kids are little, we create rules and structure that, we think at least, encourage them to be good people. We don't hit. Sharing is kind. Let's take turns so everyone gets a chance. It's important to tell the truth. But isn't that really just teaching them to be well-behaved? How do we teach goodness? Maybe we don't. Maybe we just teach our kids to listen to themselves, to that voice that is already inside of us, the one that reminds us of our own worth and the worth of every person. The voice that knows that hurting others is wrong, that we have a responsibility to protect one another, to intervene when we are witness to suffering. The voice that gently offers a path to healing and repair when we make mistakes. The voice that recognizes that we are a gift to the world. Our story for all ages this morning offers a beautiful reflection on that inner voice, the one that can guide us if we are brave enough to listen. The Knowing, written by Ani DeFranco, illustrated by Julia Matthew. I have a name, and my name has a story. I have a look, a sound, a smell, a shape, a size. I have a color to my hair, my skin, my eyes. But this is not all of who I am. Underneath, there is something more. All of these things are just what's showing. Underneath all that, I know, is the knowing. I have a favorite blanket. It's a little torn. I have a family and a place where I was born. I have a favorite song and a favorite food. I have a favorite game, depending on my mood. But this is not all of who I am. Underneath this is something more. All of these things are just what's showing. Underneath all of that, I know, is the knowing. I have a life that I am here to live. I have gifts that I am here to give. I have friends, and with my friends I have fun. I have a love of the wind and of the sun. Yes, I can take heart in what's showing, knowing it's all a part of the knowing. Yes, I can take part in what's showing, knowing we're all a part of the knowing. I have beliefs, and someday those beliefs might change. I have blocks that I like to arrange and rearrange. There are things that I'm told and things that I learn. There are skills I've practiced and praise I've earned. But this is not all of who I am. Underneath this is something more. All of these things are just what's showing. underneath all that, I know, is the knowing. The end. And now, before we move more deeply into this time of worship and reflection, we bid farewell to the youngest among us as they follow their adult leaders and me out of the sanctuary. Please join me in singing this little light of mine with love and tenderness as we conclude the time for all ages.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Each week when we gather, we engage in a number of important spiritual practices. We sing, we affirm our covenant, we meditate, we pray, and we give. The spiritual practice of giving sustains the work we do here at UUAA and the world beyond our sanctuary doors. As you may know, once a month we engage in the practice of sharing the collection, whereby we invite a local organization to come and share with us about their need for our support, while we uplift the wonderful work they're doing to support our communities. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Joe Halsch, the Executive Director of the Gym Toy Community Center, who will share with us the vital work he and his team are doing to support the LGBTQ+ community here at home. On a personal note, I can share that the Gym Toy Community Center brings a huge progress flag to the 4th of July parade in downtown Ann Arbor to be a visible reminder that LGBTQ+ people are proud to be a part of that community and are not afraid to be seen. And I'm also proud to say that along with Reverend Theresa and a few other beloved members of our congregation, we have helped to carry the flag through the streets of Ann Arbor. In a country where it would seem the political tide is turning against the LGBTQ+ community, the work of the Gym Toy Community Center is vital to our survival, serving those in need with a reliable, dependable place that will support them through thick and thin. Please join me now in welcoming Joe Halsch to the chancel.
Good morning. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces. My name is Joe Halsch, and I'm the Executive Director of the Gym Toy Community Center. First of all, I'd like to thank you for sharing your collection with us. It's not just financial support. It's a statement that LGBTQ+ people belong in this community and deserve to be invested in. The Gym Toy Community Center serves LGBTQ+ people across Washtenaw County, and what we're building is infrastructure for community. A place people can rely on, a place that people show up week after week. We host open door hours where someone can walk in without an appointment and just talk. We support peer-led groups where parents are figuring out how to support their kids. Trans and non-binary folks are collaborating on navigating healthcare systems. People are building sober communities, and creatives, readers, and neighbors come together to not feel so alone. We're expanding career programming because safety also means being able to pay the bills and build a future. I see every week what happens when someone realizes they don't have to figure it out alone. Right now, many institutions are pulling back from inclusion. Policies are shifting, language is being erased, and people are tired. When that happens, community spaces matter more. We are intentional about where we show up. We stay engaged with local and state leaders. We strengthen partnerships. We focus on healthcare access, family support, and economic stability, the real things that shape daily life. And we keep our doors open. Because when someone walks into a room and sees other people like them and people who stand with them, it changes what feels possible. Your support helps us keep building that kind of space, not just for today, but for the long haul. Thank you for standing with us. We're going to keep doing the work, and I'll be available in the social hall after service to meet you all and answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for your testimony on the good work that the Gym Toy Community Center is doing. We really appreciate all that you do. There are many ways to contribute to our Sharing the Collection Fund. If you wish to engage digitally, you can travel to UUAA.org and select /giving and select Sharing the Collection. You can also text UUAA to 73256, or you may use the tried and true cash and check in the basket as it passes you by. Thank you for your ongoing generosity and support of the Gym Toy Community Center. And now I would like to invite the ushers to come forward as today's offering will be gratefully gathered. That was fantastic. Would the ushers please come forward? And I would ask you to rise in body or spirit and to speak with me the words of this dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you.
You know, I, and by extension, the Chancel team, we chose the topic for today's service many months ago, holding the awareness of the time we have already been living in for a while, in which it feels like just about anybody can assert anything at all to be true, and then it's seemingly taken as true by some, if not many. And what does it mean to be living in a time like that? That was the spark for today's service. And as subsequently over months and weeks, my portion of the preparation deepened, I began feeling this tremendous anxiety. Well, if that's the topic, what am I supposed to be doing today? Am I supposed to be bringing to you some sense of what truth is for all people in all places for all time? That's impossible. I know that. You know that. But nonetheless, on the inside, it felt a little bit like that I needed to help find some bit of solidity, something solid, reliable like that. Holding that bit of impossibility and the anxiety that it was producing, I turned to what in Unitarian Universalist a writer, a literary friend, you could say, that in Unitarian Universalist circles is well known to us. In fact, we don't have saints, but if we did, we would consider Mary Oliver to be a Unitarian Universalist saint. And she did not disappoint in my seeking solace and comfort at having chosen such an impossibly large topic. I want to share with you today an untitled poem of hers from a collection from 2005. Interestingly, it was a collection gifted to me on the occasion of my ordination. And in this poem, Mary Oliver addresses the language to perhaps a younger version of herself, or a younger version of you or me, or some third person, offering wisdom to this younger individual as they set off by boat on a treacherous journey. As we hold this time of feeling unmoored, I want to offer this poem, these words by Mary Oliver. You are young, so of course you know everything. You leap into the boat and begin rowing. But listen to me. Without fanfare, without embarrassment, without doubt, I talk directly to your soul. Listen to me. Lift the oars from the water. Let your arms rest, and your heart's little intelligence, and listen to me. There is life without love. It's not worth a bent penny or a scuffed shoe. It's not worth the body of a dead dog 9 days unburied. When you hear, a mile away and still out of sight, the churn of the water as it begins to swirl and roil, fretting around the sharp rocks, when you hear that unmistakable pounding, when you feel the mist on your mouth and sense ahead the embattlement, the long falls plunging and steaming, then row for your life toward it. I want to build this Sunday on a service from a couple of weeks ago. Some of you may have attended it. It was on the topic of mythology, in particular cultural mythology, the narratives that are widely accepted within a particular cultural or societal context that aren't necessarily even true. They might even be false narratives. And often these myths, this mythos, is held culturally or societally for specific political purposes. I could have, by the way, in that earlier sermon, even referred to such mythology, such mythos, as propaganda, because it can be understood as that. But this kind of mythos, mythological thinking, cultural thinking, it points towards today's topic of what is the nature of truth. We are, on a certain level, surrounded by lies all the time. And it was in recognition of that I turned to some cultural sources to kind of get a sense of like, well, what does that kind of mean for us? And I found, courtesy of Reddit, and brought to you by a staff writer at Board Panda by the name of Adelaide May Ross, who compiled these, some of the biggest lies told in human history. And Adelaide May Ross came up with about 40 of them, so I then subsequently culled it down to about 10 that I'm going to share with you, for those who are of a certain age and know what this reference is, David Letterman style, in the way that David Letterman would do those top 10 lists. So I'm going to give it to you that way. Here are the top 10 biggest lies in human history. In the number 10 slot, there are hot singles in your area dying to meet you. That's never popped up on my screen. Number 9, if you're a good person, good things will happen to you. Number 8, your call is very important to us. As we then deal with AI that speaks with us in robotic monotones, prompting us to press keys if we cannot speak into the phone. In the number 7 slot, you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up, even president. Number 6, your religion, if you have one and whatever it might be, is of course the correct one. That sparked no end of conflict in human history. Number 5, this is relevant to the weekend we're in. America stands for freedom and liberty, and of course, human rights. Number 4, tax cuts for the rich will benefit everyone. Haven't we been saying that since the 1980s and we're still waiting on that? 45 years later? In the number 3 slot, I acknowledge that I have read and agreed to the above terms and conditions. Oh, we're all guilty of that lie. Number 2, vaccines cause autism. And can we get the drum roll, please? In the number 1 top slot, courtesy of George Carlin, there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day, and the invisible man has a list of the 10 things that you are not supposed to do, and if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever till the end of time, but he loves you. He loves you and he needs your money. We're surrounded by lies. What I love about that is that, there's the humorous ones, but there's sprinkled in there the ones that are a bit poignant because we get them, the impact that some of that thinking has had. There are lies that we can't combat, often lies reflected in marketing or corporate strategies that we're not able to directly do anything about, but we're surrounded by. There are lies for which we see no consequences, often in the realm of our civic or political affairs. There are lies that are widely accepted, even though they're lies, reflected in our cultural mythos and cultural mythologies. There are lies that seem to be eroding the very structure of our society, including our democratic institutions. We wind up swimming in waters that are polluted with lies. Is it any wonder that we've arrived at a time where anything can apparently be simply asserted as being true? And what does that mean? Has the age of ethical relativism arrived, or is nihilism all that we have left? Now, for those for whom high school elective philosophy or ethics was a long time ago, if you even took it, let me offer a quick word or two about ethical relativism and nihilism. So ethical relativism, it's born of a good impulse. The kind of kernel or seed of good intention there is a recognition that different cultures have different value structures. Therefore, what is good and moral may shift according to the specific cultural context. The problem is that if you take this kind of relativistic thinking, you can expand it such that the moral context isn't even necessarily an entire society, culture, or civilization. It can devolve to being the moral context of the individual, of just one person, or a small self-interested group. Everything being relative can become a justification for individual or subgroup selfishness, greed, and even tyranny. Relativism is often something that kids and teenagers struggle with, reflecting an innate reflexive desire to understand goodness or wrongness of words and deeds relative to themselves, to the kid, or to the child or the teen, relative to themselves and their own needs. So one, it's a natural developmental thing, but it also reflects a certain level of immaturity in that it can become, this relativism can become self-justifying. I can justify anything and everything at all by virtue of relating it to my very specific experience and needs and context. Nihilism is a bit different, but here too we can relate to it through perhaps younger versions of ourselves. Our teenage selves can relate to the questions of, and the feeling behind these questions of, why bother? What's the point anyway? nothing matters. Nihilism is the idea that nothing inherently has value. There's no fundamental intrinsic meaning. All meaning, all value is a human invention. Therefore, if it's a human invention, meaning and value, it can be torn down, it can be destroyed, and it can be replaced with whatever one wants. We see a lot of both of these kinds of thinkings in the culture around us right now. The truth is what I, or a small subgroup, say or assert it is. That's relativistic thinking. And/or there's no inherent truth or value in anything, so I or we, a small subgroup, can tear down whatever we want to tear down. That's nihilistic thinking. Both of these harm the fabric of democracy in different ways. Relativism means that there's nothing to agree on as a society. There are no shared facts, there are no common understandings, because all facts, in quotes, all knowing is subjective. And if it's all subjective, guess what? It can all be partisan. And therefore, good partisanship becomes more important than good citizenship. Being a citizen of a nation in which there are diverse people with diverse needs and interests and experiences. Nihilism is even more insidious in the ways that it harms democracy, because it pushes us towards hopelessness and cynicism. The idea or feeling that I can't make a difference, or nothing I do will matter. Author Anne Applebaum, in her latest book, Autocracy, Inc., notes that autocratic leaders lie incessantly. They lie incessantly as part of an intentional political tactic designed to produce nihilism. Here's what she says about this. With all the lies, how can you know what actually happened? What if you can never know? If you can't even understand what is going on around you, then you are not going to join a great movement for democracy. You're not going to follow a truth-telling leader. You're not going to listen when anyone speaks about positive political change. Instead, you'll avoid politics altogether. Autocratic leaders have an enormous incentive to spread hopelessness and cynicism, not only in their own countries, but globally. Truth has become subjective and partisan, and cynicism abounds across the political spectrum in our society. What are we to do with this? How do we navigate this unmoored age that we're living in? I want to return to Saint Mary, if you'll allow me. Let's hear her words again. You are young. So, of course, you know everything. You leap into the boat and begin rowing. But listen to me. Without fanfare, without embarrassment, without any doubt, I talk directly to your soul. Listen to me. Lift the oars from the water. Let your arms rest, and your heart's little intelligence, and listen to me. There is life without love, It's not worth a bent penny or a scuffed shoe. It's not worth the body of a dead dog 9 days unburied. When you hear, a mile away and still out of sight, the churn of the water as it begins to swirl and roil, fretting around the sharp rocks, when you hear that unmistakable pounding, when you feel the mist on your mouth and sense ahead the embattlement, the long falls plunging and steaming, then row for your life toward it. Even though the younger her, or you, or me, or third person, has leapt into the boat with great enthusiasm at the task at hand, Mary Oliver says, "Listen to me." Over and over again, she invites us to listen. Don't row. Lift the oars from the water. Let your arms rest. Let your heart rest. Let the water naturally carry you in its inevitable course. Why? Because otherwise you'll get exhausted too early, too soon, before the great obstacle is even before you. Your time here on Sundays is one such opportunity. It's a critical and necessary opportunity to rest, if even briefly, your heart, your mind. We call this place in which we physically meet, this hall, we intentionally call it a sanctuary, because it's meant to be that. A sanctuary for our weary selves that have to navigate the needs of self, of family, of community, of work, of nation on a daily basis. So much is needed from each of us right now, and it feels like that so much is needed all of the time. When do we ever get to truly feel safe? Feel held metaphorically, let down our guard enough just to be, and be with others who share our values. This hall, physical and metaphorically, is a sanctuary. Allow it to be that for you. Next, Mary Oliver offers us a word or two about love. And she tells us that a life without love is not worth a bent penny or a scuffed shoe. Love seems to matter tremendously here. We can think of that as what we find in a place of sanctuary, in a place where we feel safe enough to let down our guard, in which we know that we can metaphorically be held. We have the opportunity, through that breath, through that momentary rest, to reconnect with love. Love as our deepest value, love as our highest calling, love that we know at the end of the day, whenever the time comes and the end of our life draws near, we know that that is the one thing that will matter above all else. And here, in the safety of others, we have the opportunity to reconnect with that one thing that matters the most. It gets clouded over. We can't help that. It gets clouded over by the indignation and fear that the times we are in evoke. as we rest in the safety of sanctuary, can we remember that we feel indignant because something or someone we love is at risk? Can we remember that we feel fear because something or someone we love is at risk? Can we intentionally reconnect with that which is deeper and stronger than fear or indignation? Can we reconnect with the power of love? And here's the beautiful thing. When we're grounded in that deeper wellspring, that deeper reservoir, there is no confusion, there is no uncertainty. As we heard and saw in our Time for All Ages today, there is a deeper knowing. We know what is right, we know what is true, we know what is good when we're grounded in, when we are in touch with that deeper part of ourselves. This is part of our Unitarian Universalist Transcendentalist heritage, by the way. The belief, the understanding, the experience of knowing that in an unmediated way we can each get in touch with deeper wisdom inside of ourselves. You don't need a minister, you don't need me to try and identify it and name it for all people during all time, wherever they're located. Because you yourself have access to what that deeper wisdom, that deeper truth, that deeper knowing is. It is a soul-felt knowing. It is a knowing that reverberates with you gently yet solidly. When we're in alignment with that knowing, that truth, nothing can stop us, nothing can defeat us, nothing can subjugate us. This is what Gandhi, during the Indian independence movement, called satyagraha. And that phrase, satyagraha, it translates as truth force, and more importantly, in action, what it means is the force and power of the deepest truths that we can embody. It is the power of a deep knowing, of a deep truth, as reflected in the reality that we as people for generations have found the power of that truth and can look to history for the ways in which it has been brought alive and how it has kept alive trans people, how it has kept queer people alive, how it has kept colonized and enslaved people alive, how it has kept alive anyone struggling against norms and expectations of society that weren't built for them. It is in that deeper knowing that we recognize, nobody has to tell us, we recognize and we know that we each belong, that we each have a place, that we each have a purpose. It's from that deeper place of knowing that we are grounded, that we are prepared, and that we are ready for whatever turbulence may lie ahead. Here again, the end of Mary Oliver's short piece. She says, when you hear a mile away and still out of sight the churn of the water as it begins to swirl and roil, fretting around the sharp rocks, when you hear that unmistakable pounding, when you feel the mist on your mouth and sense ahead the embattlement, the long falls plunging and steaming, then row for your life toward it. Row for your life toward the threatening rapids, grounded in your own inner being, grounded in your own goodness, grounded in your own truth and love, towards the plunging, steaming rapids and falls, because nothing can stop any of us when we are grounded and rooted in that deeper wisdom. Nothing can stop you, and nothing can stop us collectively. Such is the power and strength of what we as Unitarian Universalists seek to bring alive. Such is the power of the faith of the free. May it always be so.
Please rise and body our spirit. Turn to 287 in the gray hymnal. Join me in singing.
Beloveds, as we head into a new week, take time to listen, as Mary Oliver invites, to that deeper part of yourself that knows what truth and goodness sounds like, what shape it takes, how we're invited to bring it alive for others in the wider world around us. Know that we live in a time and in an age desperate for every ounce of kindness and goodness any of us can offer. Go forth and know that that love, that sense of greater humanity that each of us is invited to bring alive, that you're encouraged to do that by this community, that you're held and loved up in that commitment until we are together again. Go in love and peace. Amen.